Welcome back to Sports Talk with Britt. I'm gonna do a video right here. It's gonna be over some college football coaches. I'm gonna do some people on the hot, some coaches that I think are gonna be on the hot seat, and some coaches that are under the most pressure to win this year. It's just the start of my series on college football. Just some. I heard someone talking about a coach on the way home, and it just kind of gave me an idea. That's something I wanted to discuss. And if you see me look up at sometime during this video, my wife's doing something in the kitchen. She said she's probably gonna try to make me laugh or something. So she likes to make fun of me when I make my videos. So, but I wrote some coaches down that I think are gonna be on the hot seat. I'm gonna talk about it for a little bit, and then I got some coaches that are under the most pressure to win this year. It's all first year coaches that I think that are under some pressure. So, but one of the first coaches under on the hot seat, if they don't win this year, probably done, is Will Muschamp at Florida. Last year they had a bunch of injuries. I know it was a lot of injuries, but they still haven't been big winners since he's been there. And he's been there for a few years. I mean, 4 years, 3 or 4 years. I mean, he's getting up there, and he's never had a great season. And I think he's a good coach, but he just hasn't had that season. And if they come out and win nine games, 8 or 9 games, probably I think he'll stick around. But if he doesn't, if he wins 5 or 6 again, or I think he'll be gone. And I thought he was a big time coach coming out. I think he came out of Texas actually because he was supposed to take over from Mac Brown, but got the head job at Florida, and he just hasn't been able to do it at Florida yet. They've always had great defenses, but their offense has just been terrible. But they got a new offensive coordinator in, so we'll see. Seems like a good coach, so we'll hope for the best for him. And another one is Dana Holgorsen at West Virginia, who had a great first year. When he had a lot of pieces in there, and then last year, they just, or 2 years ago they had a good year, and then last year they were just not very good. No, they actually started out 2 years ago. They actually started out pretty well, and then they just went downhill. And they had Gino. First year in the Big 12, they just had a terrible year. Ended up like 6-6 or 7-5 or something like that. And then last year they were not very good again. So he's on a big hot seat right now. He's always been a great offensive coach, but their defense has not been very good. And last year the offense wasn't great. So he needs to win now as well. Another Big 12 coach that needs to win is Charlie Weiss at Kansas. They haven't had success since Mangino left. He won 11 or 12 games and won the Orange Bowl when he was there. And they haven't won 5 in the last 4 years or something like that. And he's only going into his third year, so he needs to win at least 4 or 5 games probably to keep his job. And I mean that's not very much, but at Kansas that's a pretty decent year for the most part, aside from the Mangino years. Another coach that needs to win, he consistently wins 9 or 10 games every year, but he hasn't had that. He hasn't put him over the top, and this is at a school that they strive for excellence. They demand excellence every year, and that's Pelini at Nebraska. He wins 9 or 10 every year, but they're always expected to be better, and they always kind of fall right below those expectations. And I think this is the year they've kind of cut him some slack, but this is the year that he really needs to win 11 or 12 games, or I think he's going to be in some trouble. He's a very good coach. He's kind of a weirdo. I know that he's kind of a weird dude, but he's a good coach. So I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him win. And the one that I think's in the most trouble, in my opinion, is Brady Hoke at Michigan. He's going into his 4th year, and they're not even ranked in the coaches poll, the top 25 preseason coaches poll. So that's a far fall. I mean, I was listening to Colin Cowherd, actually, before I decided to do this, or after I decided to do this. I was listening to someone on the way home, but I was listening to Colin Cowherd earlier. It was just from a couple of days ago, and he said Brady Hoke's in his 4th year. At a school like Michigan, it doesn't take 4 years to do that. Like Urban Meyer took over Florida when they weren't very good, and in 2 years he won a title. Same with Bob Stoops at Oklahoma. Took him over in their bad years. Second year won a title. It just at schools like that, it just doesn't take very long to win big. If Hoke doesn't win 10 or 11 games this year, he's going to be in trouble. So, another one is Randy Edsall at Maryland. He's a good coach, I think. I think he's a really good coach. He's had some tough breaks in Maryland. They're used to winning, 7 or 8 games. They got some tradition, not great tradition, but some tradition. They've been terrible since he's been there, just terrible. So I think he needs to win probably 7 or 8, 9 games this year, or he's going to be in some trouble because he's had some decent classes. He had Stephon Diggs, I think. Is it Diggs? Not Diggs. I can't think of his name. They have a really good wide receiver, though. Really good wide receiver. It might be Diggs. I can't remember his name. But, they need to win. He needs to win this year. And my last coach I have is Kevin Wilson at Indiana. Obviously, an Oklahoma guy. Just hasn't been able to put it together at Indiana. And they're not a team that demands a lot, but he's on the hot seat. This is his 4th year. So he's got to win this year, or he'll probably be out there as well. And that's some of my coaches that I have on the hot seat. Is some pretty big name coaches. Muschamp, Holgerson was a big name. Pelini, Hoke. I mean, there's some big names. Charlie Watts was a decently big name. I mean, there's some big guys. And then I have 4 coaches that I wrote down that I think that need to win, that have pressure to win by not only their schools, their athletic directors, their board, whatever. There's going to be pressure. And my number 1 coach that has to win this year, or at least prove that they're on the right track, is Charlie Strong at Texas. He's taken over a Texas program that's been down under Mac Brown these last few years, and Texas expects to win. I mean, that's just the way it is. They're a lot like Oklahoma, USC, Florida's, Alabama's. They expect to win. So he's going to have to come in and prove that he's on the right. He's already freaking kicking people off the team like crazy. Bergeron's gone. A bunch of big name guys are gone. So it's a big deal. I could see him, winning 4 or 5 games or 7 or 8 games. I mean, I think he needs to win this year and proves, because he's got a lot of critics. So I think he needs to prove some of those guys wrong if he wants to get in the good graces. Number 2, Steve Sarkisian at USC. He's coming in with high expectations. They're preseason number 15, which they had a good year last year, won 10 games when they had some coaching changes. So he's going to need to come in and prove that he's going to win right away. I know they're still, scholarship stuff still kind of hurting him a little bit on numbers, but he needs to come in and win 10 or 11 games right away. That's a school that demands excellence as well. So I think he's going to have a little bit of pressure on him. I don't know that I would call it pressure to win, but pressure from fans and people around that have watched football is going to be Chris Petersen at Washington, just because they've seen what he did at Boise State. So I think they're going to be expecting him to put up even better, more wins at Washington. We're just going to have more resources, better stadium, get better recruits. So I'm really interested to see what Chris Petersen does, honestly, with all the stuff he's going to have, the advantages he's going to have over Boise State. I think it's a perfect fit for him. I think it's just a perfect job. He's taking over a good deal. He's got good defense, so I'm really interested to see. I think he'll put pressure on himself, not necessarily from the athletic director or anything. I think it'll be on himself more than anything. And the last coach that I have is James Franklin at Penn State. And I know they still have a lot of sanctions and stuff, but coming over from Vanderbilt and winning the way he did at Vanderbilt, coming into Penn State, I think it's going to be some pressure on him to win right away. He's got a good quarterback, so that's just some of my coaches that I want to talk about. It's just kind of one of my videos. I'm still not really into my series yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw that in. It's just something that I really thought was cool to talk about after hearing them talk about it on the radio today. They were talking about Hoke, and it kind of gave me an idea of, coaches on the hot seat that I wanted to talk about. But I'm going to go ahead and make my Sooner News video next. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share. I got over 300 views on my Joe Mixon video. It's awesome. Got 170 on another one on my Lakers video. So keep doing it. Getting some comments. It's real awesome, man. I'd like to get some more comments going and get some conversation going. But give me your ideas on who you think's on the hot seat, or who has pressure to win this year as well. But until next time, keep doing what you're doing. Keep supporting me. Thanks for watching Sports Talk with Brett.